I told God that I felt like he sold me dreams in the beginning of our relationship and that I felt gaslit by him. And I know you're like, whoa, whoa, but I don't know about y'all, but me and God have that relationship where I can tell him my deepest thoughts, even though it might be ugly and even though it may not be pretty. I felt like in the beginning of my walk with him, he told me about all these promises and he made me feel like I was just going to receive all these miracles. With these 3 years with him, I have went through the most pain and suffering that I've ever experienced in my life. But at the same time, I have become more wise, I have become more mature, and there has been a lot of miracles, but it's just not looking the way that I wanted. And a lot of times when I talk to God about it, sometimes I feel like he's always telling me why I shouldn't feel that way or why I should be grateful. This became frustrating to me because I'm like, are you gaslighting me to feel like my situation is not what it is? But he gave me the most beautiful revelation. He helped me remember that there were a lot of times the disciples would ask Jesus something, and Jesus will always say, it's not the right time. Or there will come a time for me to tell you, but that is not the right time. There are certain things at different stages of your spiritual maturity that you will not be able to receive if he told you all right away. So when he tells you stuff, he tells you in a way that you can receive it, in a way that you can understand it. And as you continue to go through trials with God, you will become more spiritually mature, that he can reveal more things to you, as well as you learn more about his character, knowing that when I was a new Christian, I looked at God as a genie. As a more spiritually mature Christian, I know he is not a genie. I know that there's an internal shift that has to take place before I receive my blessings. I know that there is work and effort that has to go in receiving my blessings. Whereas before, I just looked at him as abracadabra, he's going to make it happen. Similar to a child, when you think about it, when you were 3 years old, your parents didn't tell you the problems with the bills and the house and stuff. But when you were a teenager, they might have said, no, we can't afford that right now. And they told you a little bit more, but still not disclosing everything. And now as an adult, you probably have a more insight into your parents' relationships, what's really going on in their life with their friendships and at work. But as a kid, they didn't tell you that. But as you become more mature, your parents reveal more to you. And it is the same within God. A common misconception that so many Christians have, and I even had as a newer Christian, is that God will take away all our pain and suffering. And what I've learned through getting to know God is that he is not promising that we will not suffer at all here on earth, but he is promising that he will be with us through that suffering. Honestly, I've come to realize that greatness in the kingdom is sacrifice and suffering. We talk about so many leaders within the Bible. You have Moses, you have Jesus, you have Joseph, you have King David, but no one talks about the suffering that they had to go through before they reached power. Or even when they got into power, the suffering that they still had to endure. When we look at King David, we have First Samuel and Second Samuel, and we see that in First Samuel, he is giving this promise of being king, but then he goes through all this turmoil, about to be killed by King Saul, and he's running from the very throne God told him that was his. We see in Moses that he had to go to Pharaoh multiple times before he actually freed the people from Egypt, and even then, they were sent into the wilderness. We see with Joseph, his family, his brothers sold him into slavery. Paul, that he was in prison multiple times and at one point for 2 years. We talk about Ruth not realizing that her husband died before she found her Boaz. So when we think about greatness, we think about all the blessings, but seldom do people really think about the suffering that has to be endured and for you to reach what you consider to be your miracle or your blessing. And I think that's why so many people give up before they reach the finish line. And this is the revelation and the answer he gave me to my concerns.